everybody. This is Johnny Beane. Welcome to my podcast. Today I'm joined by my good friend, Jay Hannon.
Hello there.
Hi, Jay. How are you doing?
Hi, Johnny. Good to see you.
Well, it's a podcast, so great to hear you.
Great to hear you.
Man. Well, hey, we're live right now, and there's a good question in the chat. It's where to go? Halface in the chat is asking, is it okay to mix, meaning mix music using headphones? Now, Jay and I, quick background, Jay Hannon and I have done a lot of music production over the years, a lot of recording, a lot of mixing, and let's see. Like, Jay, what do you think about mixing music with headphones?
I'll use headphones to mix, to like check certain things. You know, the low end obviously be a little like if you're in an untreated room like I am, you know, I have the foam on the walls and stuff that kind of help with the reflections, but I'm not in a room that's made for mixing. So you never really get the honest truth, no matter what kind of monitors you're using. No matter what it is, you know, you're not hearing the true, you know, especially like with the low end. From time to time, I'll mute the monitors and I'll throw, you know, the headphones on. I got a pair of Sennheiser HD650s, which are phenomenal. Great low end response in these. You can, and, you know, a lot of times it's great as well. You know, using a, oh my goodness, now I can't think of it. A reference track. You know,
it's
and
okay because this will be edited, so it's okay.
Okay,
that's part of the thing I'm doing.
We use a reference track where it's like, okay, you have a certain track where you know that bass or the low end sounds nice and tight, you know, has a good, you know, hum to it, and you kind of go back and forth, and you know, you throw the headphones on from time to time to listen, and kind of like, okay, that's not too overpowering, or it needs, you know, you just listening in different environments in general is a great thing. And I know a lot of companies like Waves, they have a plugin with is like a headphone, you know, you put headphones on and it emulates certain rooms and certain monitors. And Slate Digital just came out with the same type of thing. It's called VSX, and it's its own proprietary headphones. And then you use the plugin, and basically it emulates the room, certain rooms or certain cars, certain.
Oh, no way!
Yeah, dude.
That sounds like you'd get dizzy real quick.
Well, it doesn't. I don't think it moves around with you, you know. But I mean, we've all been there where you mix a song, and you're like, "My God, this sounds amazing," and then you know, bounce it down to a disc or something, and you go in your car, and you're like, "Wow, this sounds like crap."
Well, see, that's for me, that's always the test.
The car test
is the car.
Yep.
You know, you mix on your monitors. But it depends. Like, it depends on the room. Like, I've done songs where all I used was headphones. You know, the entire mix was all done totally with headphones. And then I'd be burning CDs, going out to the car, test it, you know, drive around the block or whatever, take your mind off. You know, when you're driving, you take your mind off, you know, the
road.
Well, yeah. You take your mind off what you're listening to. So you kind of don't pay. You've been paying super attention to it, you know, the past couple hours mixing it. You get in the car, you drive, you get your mind off it, but you still hear it, you know? But yeah, the car test, the car speakers, that's always, for me, if it sounds dependent on the car, you know, I've had several cars, you know, depending on the system in the car, if it sounds amazing there, then it's pretty much pretty good.
Yeah, because I mean, unless you replace your car stereo audio system, or you buy a car that has, like, you know, a top end stereo in it, you know, if it sounds good on those crummy car speakers, it's most likely going to translate onto a lot of different things. And I think the issue with mixing with headphones can sit like just alone on headphones is the stereo field. You know, you're like anything that's in the left channel is completely in your left ear. So you don't, sometimes I'll switch back and forth to mono as well. And mono is great for balancing. Like if everything is thrown right up the gut, you can kind of tell what instruments or what frequencies are kind of fighting with each other for space. But it's also a very humbling thing too, because you'll get far into a mix. I'll put it in mono and I'll be like, oh man, I got a lot to fix, because there's certain things that are, the snare drum isn't cutting through all of a sudden. Like if you got the guitars hard pan, which is what I usually do for metal, you hard pan the guitars left and right. I mean, once you throw those things right up the gut, the snare drum can sometimes go bye-bye,
Yeah, stuff disappears.
Yeah, stuff disappears. And it just sounds like a big mess. And you realize, like, man, I suck at this. But no, it's definitely a good tool to have to kind of go back and forth every once in a while, just to check and that type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to totally mix on headphones like I used to do, because, it'd be like midnight, 2 a.m.
And your ears are already, fried.
Yeah. 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 But no, using headphones it's great for referencing, a lot of times you call it like a reference, headset. If your main thing is the monitors, which it should be, but when you switch in between the two, like, let's say you get it sounding great. You can't see. I've got 2 monitors on both sides. Yeah, you guys have never seen. Yeah. Yeah. If I'm sitting here mixing and it's coming through and it's like, oh, this sounds amazing. Sounds great. You switch to the headphones and all of a sudden it's very, very tiny. The mix is very small. So you kind of tweak within the headphone. You'll move something around a little bit, put this here. Oh, that affects, the reverb over here, the EQ, put it back over here. You get a much bigger sound on the monitors, of course, but going in between the two is the best.
Yeah.
It's the best thing to do. And then listening to it in the car, where if it sounds great in the car, you're pretty much done.
Yeah. And the phone, especially nowadays, a lot of people listen to music just from their phone speakers. And I mean, it is what it is, and people are going to do it. The ear pods or the whatever the hell they are, the earbuds and the laptops, like the laptop speaker. That's the tricky thing, is getting the low end of the bass guitar. Not even the low end, but the low end, just the bass to come through to hear the bass on on laptop speakers and computer or just speakers in general, like something small. That's tricky stuff, man. And there's certain plugins. There's R-Bass. Is it R-Bass or because I use it literally anytime I have a bass track, a bass guitar track. Right? Yeah, it's called Renaissance Bass, so it's R-Bass, and it just it helps with compressing the low end and bringing it out, especially on smaller speakers. It helps to kind of just hear the low end, not just feel it.
Yeah.
I mean, then we could go on about this for another, 10 hours. I mean, it's another trick is, and I know it's hard when, Johnny, I know you know this, when you're mixing music that you really like, and, we all know that rock and roll and metal, it sounds better loud, and especially when you're mixing a song that you really like, you crank it up, and to be honest, it's better to mix at a lower volume, because once you start cranking things up, everything sounds good,
What you want to do is you want to mix at a lower volume, and then when you're referencing, when you're checking, that's when you crank it up.
We'll do both.
Yeah, but you don't want to be mixing cranked all the way up the entire time, because you lose your ears instantly, and you're not really hearing what you're hearing.
Yeah, just for some reason your brain reacts to loud music as like, oh yeah, that sounds awesome.
Give me more of that.
Yeah, for instance, like the album from Metallica, Death Magnetic. Like listening to that album low it sounds like hot garbage. And you turn it up, and it still doesn't sound great, but it sounds a lot better when it's like bumping. You're like, yeah, all right, I like this. But ear fatigue, Mickey Settlemeyer, and Johnny mentioned it too. You know, if you mix late at night, it's because that's sometimes when I have to do it, and I have to watch myself. I mean, I sent a mix to a band recently, and it was the same type of thing. Like, it was late at night. I wanted to send them something, and right before I've kind of printed the mix, I was like, you know what, man, I think it needs a tiny bit more top end, you know, a little more of that, you know, just sheen. And the first note I got in the morning was, dude, the mix sounds awesome, but, you know, the top end is just a little bit too bright. And I was like, you know, sometimes you can't trust yourself. You can't trust your ears late at night, especially if you've been mixing, you know, for multiple hours in a row. Your just ears, they just start, you know, falling apart. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jay. It was great talking to you on this podcast.
Well, thanks for having me.
Oh man, you're welcome. You're welcome. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you for listening to this. This is a project I do in the morning, a podcast project, and maybe I'll go live tomorrow at some time to something. And this is original music, by the way. This is something you guys have never heard, unless you really dig back a lot of years. I've done a lot of music. Even though I don't play it live on the shows, I've done a lot of stuff. Alright. Thank you for listening. Thank you so much. Subscribe, leave a thumbs up. See you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow somewhere. Johnny Beane TV. Good night.